TKM Incorporated in Moss, Tennessee is a construction company that specializes in erosion control, seeding, and soil, hydroseeding, hydromulch, minor excavation, and silt fence. They also provide traffic control and construction signs. Their business is keeping people safe, but their passion, their mission, is they wish that all men could be saved. TKM has adopted the nickname the King's Men because as they serve you, they also serve the King. If they could provide any of their services for you, please contact them at 931-243-3958. That is 931-243-3958. Or you can contact them on the net at tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. That is tkminc2001 at twlakes.net. TKM Incorporated is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. SJ&L General Contractor specializes in asphalt, demolition, concrete finishing, and heavy hauling. This family-owned business is licensed in Alabama and Tennessee. You can contact them for any of your construction needs. 931-433-4660. That is 931-433-4660 or 3Ws and a dot, sjnl.com, www.sjnl.com. SJ&L General Contractor is a sponsor of Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Part of my life involves driving and speaking. Now, as a natural consequence of that, a person who drives to speak often drives through a drive-through in order to eat. You see, a lot of times churches will invite you somewhere place to speak, and one of two things happen. It's an all-day event or a seminar, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or it's a Sunday through Wednesday event. Now, the Sunday through Wednesday event they call a revival or a gospel meeting, and my situation is pretty unique because my day job is I'm a therapist. I have a little private practice and a consulting business, and I try to see clients Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and then reserve Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for travel and stuff. And so a lot of times somebody will say, hey, we need to come do a series of lectures, and we want it to be Sunday through Wednesday. Well, Sunday's no problem. But Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, if I go to some town and stay 3 days, I'm losing all those client hours. And so what I've started doing, and it's been going on for 10 or 15 years, well, maybe longer than that, is I only accept those Sunday through Wednesday events when they're close enough for me to drive and drive back, usually about a 3-hour radius. Now, those make for long days. I go into the office and I see clients until 3. I leave the office at 3, drive maybe 2 hours, and then I've got time to get something to eat, and then I speak, and then I drive 2 hours home, and you rinse and repeat, and you do that, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of the same week. Probably in 2024, I'll do my last one of those. It's getting to be hard to drive those late nights, but I'm still doing them right now, and I think I have 3 more left on my schedule where I'm going to do a Sunday through Wednesday event. Well, part of what that involves is I leave the office at 3. I've got to be somewhere either at 6:30 or 7. So in order to eat supper, I'm just going to run through the drive-through. The modern drive-through window. First of all, in recent history, have you ever driven up to a drive-through window and placed your order and not had to repeat it? It's almost like they ask you, can they take your order, and they're unprepared for you to answer. So either they're not paying attention or they didn't get it the first time. But I haven't in years gone into a drive-through and said, yes, I want this. And they go, okay, drive through or drive around. You have to repeat your order. And then after you repeat your order and they hand you your bag out the window, and you start down the road and you open up the bag, you look at it, and it's this slung together disaster burger. I mean, the person who gave you this food knew that they're looking at you through a window. They know you are driving a car, and you're going to try to drive a car and eat this food. And it's impossible. I mean, don't you know how to stack a burger together? Didn't you have those plastic rings as a kid you put on the little pedestal? Didn't you have those bath toys that stacked on top of each other? I mean, this is not rocket surgery. It's bread, a meat patty, cheese, another meat patty, pickles, and depending on the emotional mood they're in, you may get 2 pickles or you may get 30 pickles. And then the other bun gets mustard and ketchup and onions that look like rice, and then you put them together. And then you look in the bag, and there's more fries in the bottom of the bag than there are in the little carton. I begin to wonder who puts these things together. Is the Swedish chef from the Muppet Show back there throwing stuff together? It looks like the buns were set apart equal distance to match a cornhole tournament, and they were standing back there in the back throwing patties at it, and the guy who builds my burger always is the guy who's losing. You handed me this disaster burger out the window, and it is unacceptable and it's unmanageable. You've given a guy in a white shirt who has to preach in an hour a burger that is a mess before you even opened it. What do you do when you engage in a conversation, a negotiation, an interview, an intervention, a therapy session, and what you get handed through the window is unacceptable and unmanageable? What happens if you get a bad attitude, or the person you're talking with has lack of insight, or there's a failure to listen, or there's no motivation? They don't want what you want for them, and you can't want it more than they want it. I can't want sobriety for you. I can't want success for your marriage. What if they're unwilling to put in any effort, and yet they've brought this to you and they've handed it through the window, and now you got to decide what to do with it, and especially when you deal with people and there's no accountability. What am I supposed to do with things that are unmanageable? How am I supposed to negotiate that? In the case of the burger, you'd like to just turn around, pull up to the curb, walk back in, drop it on the counter, and say, "How do you expect me to deal with this? Didn't you know I was driving a car when you stuck this through the window?" But that's not really what mature people do. You really don't have the ability to go back in and call them on the carpet. Number one, it's just a burger. It's not that big of a deal. But you start down the road and you open up the disaster burger, and you have this inner dialogue. Well, I need to go take that back to them. That inner dialogue says, how do they expect me to handle this? I can't believe they care so little. I bet that kid's counting on the fact that I'll get so far down the road before I discover this mess that I won't have the time or the energy to come back and make. And then it dawns on me that I'm getting upset at the work product of a kid who works at McDonald's. It dawns on me that there's a better than average chance that I can actually do this kid's job. And we're talking about a cook at a fast food restaurant. We're not talking about the guy or the girl who sits up front and gets to meet people. We're not talking about somebody who gets to interact with the public. This is not the person who goes, "May I take your order, please, and would you like fries with that?" This is a guy who doesn't interact with people. He doesn't interact with the public. He's in the back. He's hidden away. He's a step above the Waffle House guy. You see, at least at Waffle House, you can say, "Excuse me, sir, would you please not smoke over my omelet?" But this kid's not visible. You can't see what he's doing. You can't see what his work product is. You don't know what he's doing. And let's face it, we could probably do his job. I've built Legos. I play with those stackable things. I had a toy called an Eggster, which is the Tupperware version of Mr. Potato Head, so I could probably properly assemble a burger. I shouldn't have to, but I'm able to. Now I've got to decide if I'm going to or not. You see, that's what it boils down to when you get given the unmanageable. I can demand you fix it, or I can look at my skill set and decide that I can fix it. You see, what they handed you through the window is such a mess. There's ketchup on the bun. It looks like a 4-year-old was playing with his mother's lipstick. And cheese hangs out one side, and meat hangs out the other side. But I can simply slow down. That's my car and my thinking. And I can pull over. I can change lanes from the emotional to the intellectual. I can get out of the driving lane and onto the shoulder. And I can take a few minutes and simply take what was given to me and rearrange it. can make it manageable. And see, that's the difference in forcing others to straighten out messes or just being willing to skip a confrontation and simply rearrange what came out their window and into ours. And a lot of times people lack the insight to know that they're making a mess out of things. Maybe the kid in the back doesn't know he's making a burger for a guy in a white shirt who has to preach in an hour. Maybe he doesn't care he's making a burger for a guy in a white shirt who has to preach in an hour. Or maybe the guy in the white shirt who has to preach in an hour can go inside and eat at a table and not try to eat and drive. You see, food placed on the table in front of you is way more manageable than food they hand you through a window that you're trying to manipulate while you drive. Now, absolutely, I should not get a disaster burger in the drive-thru. But in reality, it happens way more than it does not. And so learning to manage my expectations from other people, learning to manage my expectations from people I know are limited in their skill set, from people who have the capacity for imperfection, for people who are just human. I'd like this to happen this way, but if it doesn't, then I can maybe manage it. I can maybe rearrange it. Maybe I can modify it. Sometimes just learn to live with the results. You see, the key to this is learning to control myself rather than trying to control others. Now, there's places, and we're talking on the far extremes, where if this is a critical issue, if it's about somebody's safety, psychological, emotional, spiritual safety, then maybe I've got to pull the car over and turn around and go back and confront. But in most cases, we're getting drive-through products through a drive-through window, and so maybe our expectations should be drive-through. I really realized I got exactly what I asked for. I got food through a window. So what was I expecting? Well, when I don't get what I'm expecting, or I get into a situation that what I was expecting is suboptimal, then there's a skill set. There's a thing called emotional intelligence. And let me read you the components of emotional intelligence. This is from Daniel Goleman's book, and it's actually on page 45. Number 1 is emotional insight. It's knowing my own emotions. It's basically self-awareness and recognizing a feeling as it happens. It's psychological insight and self-awareness. Am I mad? Am I frustrated? Am I disappointed? Am I angry? And once I recognize, hey, I'm mad because this was my expectation, this was reality, but I haven't been hurt, I haven't been insulted, I just got a disaster burger. Well, once I frame it that way, once I know what I'm feeling about this, then I can self-regulate. Basically, it's not only do I have these emotions, but I manage the emotions. In managing the emotions, it's basically handling feelings so that they are appropriate, and it's an ability that builds on self-awareness. Now, this includes the ability to self-soothe. I'm angry and I calm myself down. I'm anxious and I calm myself down. It's the ability to self-soothe, to shake off rampant anxiety, to shake off rampant gloom, or to shake off rampant irritability, and the ability to manage and deal with the consequences of failure. People who are poor at this skill, people who are poor at self-regulation, are always in a battle against feelings of distress. And if I can't self-soothe, if I can't self-regulate, then I'm always at the mercy of what you handed through the window rather than what I do with what you handed through the window. And then number 3 is the ability to motivate myself. I take my emotions, and instead of dismissing them, instead of denying them, instead of disapproving them, I use my emotions and I marshal them in the service of a goal. In some cases, the goal is for paying attention, for self-motivation, for mastery, for creativity, basically emotional self-control. I delay gratification and I stifle the impulses. Those are the skills that underlie accomplishment of any sort. You see, I don't pull the car over, turn around, and go storm back into McDonald's and fuss at the disaster burger kid. It's not going to fix my problem. It's not going to make the burger any better. It's not going to make him better. It's just going to make me, quote unquote, feel better. And then I've wasted all that time. But then the fourth skill is recognizing emotions in others. Essentially, this is empathy. It's another ability that builds on emotional self-awareness, because as I learn to understand me, then I can put myself in your shoes and understand you. And empathy is the fundamental people skill. People who are empathetic are more attuned to the subtle social signals that indicate what other people need or want. And once you can tune into what other people need, and once you can anticipate what they need, and once you can anticipate what they want, you then have the ability to operate from their perspective rather than your own. And then number 5 in Goleman's book, he says handling relationships. And handling relationships is the skill in managing emotions in others. So I know how I feel about this, and I can superimpose how you feel about that, or at least I can have a conversation and learn how you feel. And this is the tipping point, managing the emotions, recognizing them in other people. This is the tipping point between social competence and social incompetence. People who are self-absorbed rather than other-aware will never be popular. They'll never be leaders, and they'll never have interpersonal effectiveness. So I'm in this interaction, and I get handed a disaster burger. I can decide what you need to do about it, or I can decide what I can do about it. And what was I really expecting? Food through a window. Now I've got it, and it looks like a disaster burger. Now what am I going to do with it? Am I going to make it manageable for me, or try to make it miserable for you? Using the tool of shortwave radio, World Christian Broadcasting literally covers the world every day with the gospel. They use 2 large curtain antennas. One is located in Anchor Point, Alaska, and the other in Madagascar. They send out messages that are recorded at their international home in Franklin, Tennessee. They make available 40 hours of broadcast every day. The broadcasts are made in English, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, English for Africa, and Arabic. They would love for your group to visit them. You can bring your ladies group, your youth group, or your men's group. Just give them a call at 615-371-8707, 615-371-8707, or you can go to worldchristian.org, find the Donate Here button, and make a financial contribution to support this work that literally covers the world every day with the gospel. World Christian Broadcasting, in cooperation with Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure. Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure, is sponsored by us. What? We sponsor ourselves? Is that even legal? Check us out on Amazon. You can have access to the titles of Pedagogue, the youth ministry book by Lonnie Jones; Cognitive Spiritual Development, a Christ-centered approach to spiritual self-esteem; Grappling with Life, Controlling Your Inside Space, a small essay using the principles of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to talk about psychological and emotional self-defense; If I Were a Mouse, a children's book written and illustrated by Lonnie Jones; and then The Selfish Reel, a very short story about a decision. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel to see archived lessons and presentations from across the country, some videos with rope tricks and knots. Don't forget to visit the Facebook page 550 Guys to learn about the little rope men that we make and that we invented and that we make. And then be sure to click like, subscribe, and share. This is Keeping Up with Jones, the Lonnie Jones podcast adventure.